This is actually where the K0 clutch and the motor is, and it has, you notice, a separate oil pan, separate drain plug and fill plug. It is completely separate from the transmission. It has its own fluid as well. This is the transmission. I really like this transmission, not only from a driving perspective, that anybody can tell you, but look at the construction here. Steel oil pan, and in this style gasket. It doesn't have a little flimsy gasket. This style gasket actually seals very good. And another thing, when these cars get old, when rust gets a hold of them, just like the Tundra. Tundra is notorious for that, previous or second generation Tundra. You see how these bolts are through bolts. I really appreciate that they did that. The last one is a little bit more difficult, but they are basically, almost all of them are through bolts, except the very, very back ones. These two. They are actually through bolts, but you have to pull the transfer case off or the extension housing. I really like these little details, folks, because they make a huge difference. And the other thing is, look here. We have a cooler. It's not what everybody wants for towing, but we still have a proper cooler here. The other thing is, very familiar. If we come up here, see that? That is a super familiar neutral safety switch mounted exactly in the same spot. I like to see this. They're not reinventing the wheel, because this stuff is very old school design and it works great. Now we look at this side though, where that comes out, you will see a sight of kind of a breath of fresh air. Is that a cable in a modern transmission? Yes, it is, because this has a proper shifter inside. We'll look at it when we get there. Love this stuff. There is a mix of new stuff, old stuff, which we love it. Speaking of old stuff that we love, thank you, Toyota, for doing this. But look at the drive shaft here. Oh, what do we look at that? When you look at it from the outside, I think you'll see it better. Grease fitting is back. This has a grease fitting. But usually, the third generation Tacoma also only had one in the back. But we look here. This one also has one. It's very difficult to see it on camera. If you come here and show them. That one has it as well. Thank you very much for doing this. And then the front drive shaft, not only do the U-joints have grease fittings, the yoke as well has a grease fitting. We really appreciate this stuff. This is what people want. We don't want them sealed U-joints that just come apart. We can grease those. We're happy. Just look at the frame here. There are a few interesting things. This is a fully boxed frame. It is an all new design because it doesn't look like anything of the previous 4Runner. This is closer to the Tacoma frame, new Tacoma frame. But there are a few things that we really appreciate from the previous generations of Toyota trucks. If you wrap around and look here, it was a common thing for the AC drain to drain on top of the frame. Well, not here. It drains away from the frame. So thank you very much for doing that. Same thing. There's another drain on the other side. Another thing, they're covering this now. This is where the cab mount or the body mount is. They're now covering these because these used to be filled up with crud and salt and start corroding. Now it is sealed up. But there's more good news about the frame. Third generation Tacoma had a recall for the frames. We were spraying wax inside of them. Not a great procedure. But look at this one. It already has the wax sprayed inside from the factory. Now, not the whole frame. I think they stop somewhere around here. But this is the vulnerable section. This really protects it from rust on the inside, which is really nice. Then we look at more Toyota stuff. You see these bolts? They look like kind of a bunch of random bolts here that hold nothing. This is actually for your side step, rock crawler, or however you want to call it, the step. They put bolts to not leave the hole open so it would not corrode. This is really nice stuff. They've been doing this for a long time. They still do. I am really happy that we're seeing good stuff. I'm not seeing rust stuff. Exhaust is very high quality. Everything I see. This, for lack of a better word, if you put a 5th generation 4Runner, which has very good build, they're very similar. I like that. This is good news. Look at the back here. Very familiar sight. This, to me, of course, not exactly the same, but it looks exactly the same as a 5th generation 4Runner suspension in the back. Very familiar. Different rear end housing, and this does have a locker. Locker is on the inside. I like everything that I see here. Really like everything I see.